I say Nigeria is governed by impunity, a lot of people look at me like I'm an extremist. But this is actually very easy to see. Just yesterday, you had an election in Ekiti State. In that state, there are credible, in that what they call the election, there are credible allegations of vote buying, of INEC's collusion with the APC to hand out uncollected PVCs to mercenary voters, persons who voted in multiple times, violence everywhere, and yet a governor will be sworn in. Now, whether that governor performs or not is not going to be the basis for his continuation or the continuation of the APC in governance. It will be a function of who controls the levers of making sure that the next governor emerges. The will of the people is of minimal importance in the transition of power to persons in government. So when you have these, when you have a police that knows that it cannot enforce the laws evenly, it can only enforce the law against persons who are not politically connected or who are unable to purchase justice. It creates conditions such as the one we refer to as the Nigerian factor. You also have to understand that the way and manner of the collapse of the First Republic equally fed into this because people saw very quickly that the law does not matter. Might mattered. Let's agree without concession that there was a basis for the second coup of July 1966. Let's agree that there was a genuine grievance without conceding the argument, but let's even just agree for argument's sake. When Ironsi was killed, there were at least two senior officers of Southern extraction, but the insistence was that he had to be Gowon because he was of Northern extraction. This very quickly communicated to every person that hold it, merit does not matter in the republic we are building. One. Two, the tribe or ethnicity rates above other consideration because the argument was in the open space. Someone like Muritala Muhammad was the one that would prefer to have become the head of state, but because he was a Muslim, and in order to preserve northern solidarity, the most senior northern officer, who happened to be a northern minority person of Middle Belt extraction, was promoted ahead of the other southerners. These are subtle things, but they lie at the foundation of the Nigerian state. He was 6 years old at the time. Yet it was institutionalizing clearly a preference for nepotism above merit, a preference for ethnicity above merit. The foundation of the state made clear that tribalism triumphs merit, and the trauma of the war that resulted after this showed very clearly, glaringly, that merit counted for nothing. What mattered above all else was who you were, who you knew, the way the civil service was destroyed in the immediate aftermath of that same civil war, the way seniority was lost on account of the civil war and persons were demoted so that they might be reabsorbed, the way persons who are undeserving were promoted in spite of the absence of merit, these all destroyed the basis of a rule-based society. In the midst of all of this, you had the oil boom, which became the oil doom. Institutions became decayed, and orders were had to be summarily obeyed, destroying processes and institutionalizing impunity. Impunity became the basis for the governance of a country that had been destroyed because merit was sacrificed for expediency, for ethnicity, for religiosity. The Nigerian factor evolved. That military interregnum did more than anything else to destroy our cultural values. More than anything else, the rise of materialism goes back. It became a point where merit was sacrificed. Money became more important than character. During Babangida's era, you could go to bed a pauper, wake up a baron, simply because persons had connections in high places. What do we say about, look, this Nigerian factor has its root in the reign of impunity in the place of the rule of law. When you think back to the Shagari years, to how persons with just the stroke of pen became billionaires, to how persons were destroyed, economies were destroyed similarly by the stroke of a pen. When who you knew became more important than what you knew, this spilled over into the years of the first coming of Buhari and Idiagbon, where 60 something suitcases, or was it 53 suitcases or whatever, came into the country in spite of a general ban on the importation on travel, or even the importation of currency notes. This double standard that is found on might is right, which is another word for impunity, that has seeped through everything. This is the basis for what you find today and we refer to as the Nigerian fact. When you heard Cameron talk about how Nigeria is fantastically corrupt, it wasn't enough to call us corrupt, because corruption is not a Nigerian invention. It's actually more of a British invention than a Nigerian invention. The process has to be corrupted. The entire process has to be corrupted before you can describe what we call corruption in Nigeria. What we actually label corruption in Nigeria is impunity. So when he was talking about us being fantastically corrupt, it was his way of describing what he has seen, where the entire judicial processes, the legislative processes, everything appears to be completely impotent in dealing with the multiple nefarious stealing that he was privileged to be able to see from his vantage point as the prime minister. A country who could not prosecute Ibori, that outsourced the prosecution of Ibori to them. Ibori could only have gone to prison in Britain. There was no way he was going to go to prison in a place like Nigeria. The same people have now graduated to the point where the man could see that we were irredeemable, we were lost completely to these practices, and he could not see anything within our own system that appeared to be fighting anything called corruption. So it made us fantastically corrupt. We can only be fantastically corrupt in a place like Nigeria, where the law does not rule. Where even when the law pretends to rule, it only rules to condemn the poor, but it protects the evil. I see the question by just reason. What about Diezani? What about Diezani? How is it in the interest of the British to help you catch a thief when they've seen what happens when they've caught thieves for you in the past? Every kobo that was collected and from Ibori and given to the Nigerian government, who did he end up back with? Publicly, he went back to Ibori. So the point is, if me and you require the British to tell us that Diezani is a saint, that's on us. That's on us. The same British just helped to enrich Bulaba and Shagori. They gave you a loan to buy steel from them. So please, anyway, that was in the lighter mode. That's how I would treat that. But suffice to say that when you have a society that has been built around lies, that's the Nigerian factor.